Chelsea.
Chelsea Gregory Anderson.
Yes.
Oh, Gregory.
She was my birthday present. She was born on my birthday. Since I had been trying to have a boy, ended up with all girls, decided to name her. Her middle name is Gregory after me. Of course, she never liked that as she got older. She got teased about it, but
we all teased her about it.
Yeah. If you weren't pleased, just call her Gregory. She really enjoyed that a lot. So.
Yes.
So she was definitely the baby out of all of us.
Yes. Even though we argued multiple times that I am the baby, she is a baby, so it was different. But yes, she's definitely the baby. She, in all ways. So.
Chelsea is
The
10
ballerina?
years younger than me.
We're 5 years. So it's Chelsea and myself, and then Amy, and then we have, or Ashley, and then Amy, and then Mia, and then Angel. It's a lot of us.
6 girls.
Girl.
Yeah.
Chelsea being the baby. So growing up, Chelsea was always maybe a little favored. She was the young, cute one with big curls, big old eyes, long eyelashes, bouncing around.
Very talkative.
Very talkative. She would wake you up with a full-blown conversation, and you had to just know what was happening right away. Yeah.
She got a lot of attention as a kid, and I think she thrived on attention.
Yeah, she was able to. She was a ballerina, which is pretty different. It's kind of like a unicorn. Because there's not a lot of.
We're all athletes here,
Ballerinas
so.
Yeah, we had
And then
track
we had-
stars, basketball, and we had Chelsea, our ballerina.
Ballerina. Yes.
But when at church, she used to do a lot of dances at church, and every little girl in the church would just stare at her.
Yeah,
Just loved watching her dance.
yeah. She was able to go on point, which I thought was just crazy because it just seems unnatural for your body to want to do that. And she mastered that, so that was always really impressive.
She was like the youngest to be on point in her school, because you're not supposed to be on point to a certain age, and she was able to do it earlier than normal.
So as Chelsea was growing up, she developed a likeness for Disney, anything and everything Disney princesses
She had every single Disney movie
on
ever made
VHS.
on VHS of all things.
Let's go ahead and correct that. She still has, like, she toted that box around like it was her best friend. Forget the clothes, just get my VHS. I'm like, do you have a VH player? Like, no.
VHS, no player.
It's like, it doesn't matter. I don't need that.
Knew all the words to every Disney song. If there was a dance involved in it, even like the High School Musical dances, she knew those as well.
And a lot of people didn't know, but she also played piano.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
actually very good
Very
at it.
Very
good.
good at piano.
When she first started,
She didn't want to do it. Nope. She did not want to do
She
it.
became very good at it.
Yeah, she was a very good piano player. My daughter watched her play because she came to our church and she played on the stage, and Alea's just now taking piano. So she's watching her like, oh my goodness, look at her, because she was all over that board. And it was,
Like it was nothing. It was just like,
And then I guess more in her young adult years, she became a mom. She had the little boy, August.
August. He'll be 2 in July, so yeah.
2 in July.
27th.
Yeah, and he was definitely her world.
Mini-Me.
Uh-huh.
Her
Looked
mini-me.
just like her. You could put pictures of her as a baby next to pictures of him. Same kid.
Same
Just one
kid.
with a bow, one without a bow. Yeah.
Exactly alike.
Yeah. And so she definitely she had high hopes for him. She wanted him to be a dancer.
Yes. She loved him. If it was Chelsea, it was Chelsea and August always. Just right behind her with that binky in his mouth. Just everywhere. Oh.
I think how else, Chelsea? I didn't get to spend, one of my regrets, I didn't spend a lot of time with Chelsea maybe as an adult, because I could see her coming into her own and even going through her journals later on. You could see, hey, this is not little Chelsea anymore. This is a woman now. But getting to, I spent some time with her. She was fun loving. She liked to laugh. Don't play board games with her because she
Very competitive.
very competitive.
Oh man,
Does not like to
That's
lose.
the Anderson curse.
she is. Yeah.
Yeah, does not like to lose at board games.
Very
But
I would say us being the closest in age, I got to spend a lot of her adult life with her. So we got to do a lot of the things that, you know, I don't know, we could go to the bars, which that was one of our favorite things to do. We had game nights. I know my dad's like, bars? No. We did. We would have a lot of game nights. I think I had a lot to do with the competitiveness because my friends, like, game night is a real thing. So she would always come around and, you know, let's just say she wouldn't always win very often. But we had a lot of fun. We got to travel. That was one of her biggest things. She wanted to travel, but, you know, couldn't just because having August by herself, it was hard for her to do it. So any chance I could, I would take her. We got to go to Vegas for the first time. She went to the 24-hour Taco Bell, which is her favorite restaurant. So she got to do that. And then
took a road trip actually all together.
to California.
California.
A couple times. Went out there a few times, I think. Yeah.
Karaoke road trips are good.
Yes, she got to do a lot of the things on her bucket list with me, and I'm super excited about that.
So Chelsea met Tyler
In Texas.
in Texas. Her mom moved to Texas with her boyfriend, and Chelsea went with them, and that is where she met Tyler Ruiz. I can't say that I know too much about how they first met or what the attractions were, but I know when I first met Tyler, my impression was this is a good guy, a nice guy, very polite. Yeah, like the thank you, attentive to my kids because he met my kids, saying hi to my kids, just polite and normal guy that you would meet anywhere. When I first met him and her, they seemed happy together, so I didn't have any real reason to have any complaint or any
Reservations.
or worry about him. So I don't know about you, Dad, what it was like when you
When
met him.
she moved back here from Texas, and she moved back in with me. And I knew of Tyler, but I had met him, so it was probably after the baby was born when he came out and visited. And when I first met him, of course, he was Mr. Anderson, nice, you know, which most guys are when they meet me anyway. But, you know, but he was very nice. Never said anything crossways or anything like that around me. Whenever I seen him, of course, he was always seemed to be nice, you know. So
Respectful.
respectful.
I would say one of my first impressions of Tyler was he was definitely respectful.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have to say, I mean, for me, when I first met him, same way, very respectful, always addressed my kids. He went first in to play with them after saying hello to everyone. Like, they were always excited to see him. He was, you know, polite. If Chelsea had, oh, I forgot this, can you go get it? Never said no, always was yes, 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 I'll go get it. I would say in the more recent months with him being out here, I noticed that I would say I got a little bit more closer to their situation, so I noticed how he would be. I noticed how she would react with it. Just, I guess, little things. If she would come over at night and she would be a little bit more frustrated, and then she'd be like, oh, it's because Tyler is blah, blah, blah. So it started becoming more of a habit of her coming to my house saying, oh, you know, he's just being annoying, like he's upset about this. And then when I ask what is it, it's, I don't know, he's just upset. So it almost be like in front of our face, it's yes, sir, no, sir. But behind closed doors, that's not what it was.
So I would describe, from my brief understanding of it, it almost felt like if Tyler was not the focus of Chelsea's attention, or if Chelsea wanted to be somewhere and not necessarily too interested in where Tyler was or what Tyler was doing, if that wasn't, he wanted to be the center of her world, which she has a big family. She's got a lot of likes, and so it just was not, he was not the center of her world, and he wanted to be the center of her world. And that's when I saw little things, like when we took our road trip to California. Chelsea was coming with us, and he accidentally took the baby's car seat to work, so she didn't have it. But it was all kind of like this control ploy, right? Like, you can't go with your family to California because I have your car seat. So we had to, it was a whole ordeal.
We waited hours for it to happen.
We had to have a locksmith come and unlock his door, but it's all these like little things where he is consciously trying to control where she's going, how much time she's spending with us. Like, because we were going for a whole week, we were going for Thanksgiving. Like, he's going to be away from her for this time period. In his head, that's not something he wanted to do. So he decided his action would be, I'm going to try and stop this from happening.
And even after it happened, after we were on the road and driving, we were a good 4 hours in, I got a apology text, which, I mean, the apology text should have went to Chelsea, not me. But it was almost like a way like, oh, I don't want them to think anything different. So I want to show that I didn't mean it. Like, it doesn't matter what she has to say about it. I don't want, you know, it just seeing that now after everything, it's like little things that you didn't notice.
Yeah.
You start to see how it kind of comes together.
After the way everything turned out, I can tell that it was more of a mask that he put on in front of me anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely all of us.
So it was kind of like he portrayed to be this way, but that wasn't the way he really was.
And then also closer to the end, Chelsea was a little more, I think Chelsea was a little more open with who he was. I think even her at first tried to shield us from
Yeah, she wouldn't
like
talk
his
about
true
it.
self. Like, it was more like, oh, no big deal, no that. But then at the end, she did talk more about, oh, I mean, he drinks a lot. He's been drinking more and more, and you know, just things that at first she would never say. But I think towards the end, Chelsea was getting closer to, and definitely at the end, like, this is not what I want, right?
No.
And so she was more willing to be open with us about what she was dealing with him, and just the kind of things that they were struggling with. And I, from my limited understanding, I would never say that they had monumental blowout fights, throwing stuff, like what you would pitch in, like what people envision as domestic violence is not necessarily what reality is. Like, it's not like they were throwing things at each other and, you know, yelling and cursing.
Domestic violence
it
comes
starts,
in a lot of different forms. It's not always straightforward where you getting hit or you getting cussed out or you getting talking down to.
Yeah.
It comes in a lot of different forms. So you have to kind of, when someone shows you
who
they are, you have to believe that's who they are.
So in September, and so Chelsea did, this is one of the things I kind of beat myself up on, because Chelsea did let us know in September, Tyler was at his apartment. It was the first time she broke up with him, and she told him she didn't want to be with him. And he said he was going to kill himself. He threatened suicide. And me, being who I am, is like, what a ridiculous ploy for attention. Like, nobody wants to hear you're going to do, like I was like, because I knew this guy as this respectful guy. Now in my head, I'm like, you're trying to control her in this situation by threatening something you're not really going to do. And at the time, that's what I knew of the situation. After we found the intake papers for the suicide, and I honestly believe now that was a legit suicide. He would have killed himself. He had a suicide letter. He had a gun when the police showed up. And
so just speaking on that, being there that night, the only reason why he didn't is when we couldn't get a hold of Tyler, Chelsea asked me to ask, because it was my old apartment complex, and I know a lot of people who live there. So I called on a neighbor that I hadn't spoken to in a long time. I had her go over there to the house before the police arrived. She opened the door, and he already had the gun in his hand. And she talked him out of doing it and stayed with him until the police arrived. And when we got there, he didn't realize that we were downstairs. And when he came down, he had this look on his face like he was just disgusted at seeing us, like, oh, great, this is embarrassing. That's what he said. And when he said that, like, Chelsea was already crying, so he's like, I don't know. I'm not sure how to interpret that yet, but he was just kind of like disgusted and like, oh, this is embarrassing. Like, oh, great. Like, I can't come back from this now. And then he didn't want to talk to her the whole time. And because his family still lives in Texas, I was the portal for them to communicate pretty much. And he didn't want to talk to anyone. He had no intentions of it. And then on the last day, then he reached out and he was like, yeah, I want to go home and this and that. And so then his mom came and kind of helped him through that little process, I guess.
But on the paperwork, looking at that paperwork was like, wow, because we found it when we were cleaning out her apartment. On the paperwork, one of the questions was, like, why are you here? What is the reason that you wanted to commit suicide? And he put, because my girlfriend was going to break up with me. Like, that was...
I believe that was his true intention of coming out here. I don't think it was, to be a father to August. I think it was because he wanted to get Chelsea back because she had left initially from Texas from the relationship. So I think that was his whole purpose was to come and win her back. It wasn't to be a father. It wasn't to, be closer to him. It's to win her back. And when she decided she didn't want to, then he chose... the option of, well, if no one can have you, or if I can't have you, then no one will. So that's just, I think from September until February, that's what the whole thing, because it was just
it was a back and forth. So their relationship from that September till, even till our trip to California, it's like they were on, but then they were off. So I feel like, my feeling of Chelsea is I feel like she was always 1 foot out of the door, and he kept bringing her back with like, but for the baby, we have to stay together for the baby. He's young. He needs his mom and his dad. Or just like trying to appeal to her.
She was getting some, when I talked to her, she said she was getting pressure from his mom, from her mom.
Yes.
That they should stay together.
They didn't want them to be... They didn't want them to be separate because it's not good for the baby, but Chelsea kept explaining it's not good for her. But she never wanted to. Chelsea's a people pleaser. She didn't want to.
People mad at her.
Yeah.
But I told her, I said, listen, this is your life. You have to do what's right for Chelsea. I said, the only person that's the best person that's gonna fight for Chelsea is Chelsea. So you have to do what's good for you. I said, don't let anybody pressure, not even me, and I'm her dad. She has to do what's right for her and for August is what I told her.
Yeah. So I feel like there was a pull, she had a pull to him, but internally she had a pull away from him. And even in that time, I don't know that she fully expressed all of what he was going through.
No, I don't
because
think so.
we also found a letter like maybe 2 weeks before this all happened.
It's actually on the 29th of February.
Oh, not even 2 weeks. Or 29th of January.
January.
So like a week before, he had passed out or fainted somewhere because of like an anxiety, stress buildup.
It was because of the loss of the baby. He stopped eating when he found that out, and then passed out a few days afterwards.
So we should kind of go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So Chelsea found out she was pregnant back in November. So she was pregnant with their second child. She found out she was pregnant. She was excited. She let us all know about it. We even found a paper later. I just showed them. She had a prayer necklace, like a prayer box. And when you open it up, there's this little piece of paper folded all the way up, and it just said
Faith.
I can't remember. It was Faith something and Wednesday Rose. And I was like, Wednesday Rose, what is that? And then there's another piece of paper, and I opened it up, and in the bottom of that paper was the page that she had torn off and written it on, and it said, August Ruiz and Wednesday Rose Anderson. So it was going to be her daughter.
She was set on having a daughter. She was like, you can't tell me nothing. She was like, the name is Wednesday Rose Anderson. pumped for her. And, you know, unfortunately, a week before, she did end up losing the baby. Just from being with her through that process, that was her last straw. And I don't think it was because of the baby. She was finally like, I'm gonna get away. I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna be free. I can, because, you know, when she found out she was pregnant, although she was excited, she was sad because she didn't want to have another reason to be stuck.
Yeah.
And that's what that symbolized to her. And so, you know, once that happened, of course, you know, losing a child is
hard on anyone.
Anyone. So,
but not just that. Chelsea was getting from him. He was accusing her of having an abortion, not just losing the baby.
Yes.
And so that caused tension, I guess, in itself. So in his head, he's got all these. I mean, he's losing her. He just lost
a baby,
and now he's blaming her for this loss of the baby. And so it's when only now, like now looking back at all these things, you're like, flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. But at the time, like the red flags are not like you want to believe that these red flags are going to be so big. And everybody's going to, like, you have to look for red flags. They're not.
You think a red flag is, oh, you have a bruise on your arm or you have a black eye. That's not a red flag. It's how did that person's personality change? Did they stop coming around? Did they, you know.
Yeah, like, why haven't I seen like, some domestic violence is just controlling the person. Like, I don't want you spending time with your family. So now that person comes around less than they used to. Or I don't want you going out with your friends. That person sees their friends less. Like, it's not always physical abuse. Like, I would love it if domestic violence was this very neat and orderly progression that I know once you check off 3 boxes, I know what your next thing is. But that's not the reality. There were, and I wouldn't even call them red flags. I would say they were white with tainted red, like pink flags. I would never, ever suspect from that to we would be sitting here without Chelsea.
No. And as a dad, I know kids a lot of time they don't want to say everything. I think it's very important that kids are more verbal and let parents know what is going on.
Yeah, and if it's
parents, siblings,
But it has to be, you gotta,
teacher, anybody.
you have to say, you have to speak out.
You have to say
tell
it.
people what's happening.
Even if you're not sure, just like, hey, this weird thing happened. Just tell somebody. It's not.
Because so sometimes you think, like, okay, well, that was weird, but it's not like he meant this. You have no idea what somebody's intentions are. That was weird is enough to even bounce it off the idea of a really close friend or of your parent or of your sister. You need to talk that out. A pastor, somebody you can trust.
It's important that you know that love don't hurt. So if someone loves you, they're not going to hurt you in any kind of way. Now there's things by mistake, but love does not hurt. So if someone's hurting you, that's not love.
Physically, emotionally,
That's not
verbally, all of those things are hurt.
Even using financial, like me, that's
Controlling
the same
you.
thing. It's the same thing.
So for me, on February 5th, I mean, it was actually,
February 4th.
well,
Fourth was in the morning.
it was when I was woken up in the middle of the night on February 5th. From a dead sleep, from a call. And it's just this weird, I can't even explain the feeling. Like at first, there's not enough information. So you have it's like a blur of like, what am I going to? And then I have my husband and my kids at home. So I'm driving to Mesa by myself, which my husband didn't want me to do in the first place. And it's just these thoughts because I know I have this sister. It's like, I know that she's alive. I have no idea what condition she's in. I have another sister who they're telling me they think is gone, but I didn't see it, so there's hope. Like, there's hope. So I'm driving with this half hope, half scared nervousness because I don't know what I'm driving to. And then, I see my dad, which is a little bit of a relief at the time because there's a comfort. And then there's the search, because we're in the hospital. because Sharice was shot, they don't put her in under her name. So
She was under.
Hotel 24.
They won't, because just in case whoever the shooter is still after them, they won't put them under their name.
Yeah.
So we couldn't find out where she was because she wasn't under her name. And we
So-
went through several departments, several people. Nobody would tell us anything.
So we finally find somebody who tells us, and it's not even like, they're like, okay, we think she's on the surgical wing. We're like, okay, great. So where's that? So we have to go outside and around, and we make it over there, and we finally see her. And the first thing Sharice says to me is, where's Chelsea? And I didn't even know what to say, because I'm going, because there's the relief. You're like, oh, she's here and she's alive. I see her. Look, she even has a smile on her face. And it's like, but then her words, like, I had no words. I couldn't say anything. And I didn't have to, because immediately
She realized, from the way we looked.
she knew. And it was, that was probably the hardest part of that day, was having to see her realize what I got 45 minutes before I saw you to think about in my head.
I was actually on my way back from Tucson. I was about 80 miles outside on the way when I got the call. And today, I can't tell you how I drove 80 miles. I have no idea. I know that I talked to Jason. When Jason hung up, my sister called. And she prayed with me for over an hour straight on the phone, and I drove 80 miles. And when I pulled up into my the warehouse, the truck, because when I pulled up there, Jason was standing there right outside the warehouse there. And then I called. I didn't even go inside. I called inside the building and told them I got to go. And they just said, whatever you need, just leave the truck there. And then we headed out, not knowing where to go, didn't know if I wanted to go to the apartment, to the hospital. And then for me, that whole 45 minutes, although she was praying for me, but my mind was, okay, I was happy on one side because I knew she was still alive. But on the other side, so I was just being torn two ways, sad and happy. It almost felt guilty to be happy. But it was like, and today I still don't. And I go to the grade 3-4 times a week, and I still don't. Doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem right.
And then, so as our part of the story, because Sharice has firsthand, but what you get in, when something like this happens and people are telling you about somebody dying, like
it doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem real. And I honestly, until I physically saw her body.
Even at that,
Yeah.
still didn't seem real.
So, February 4th, myself, my sister Chelsea, and a few of our friends, we had come up with the idea to have a Super Bowl party. We have an amazing complex, so we were like, well, we can have it in our theater room, and then we'll move upstairs. It was going to be so much fun. That day, me and Chelsea we went shopping. We got jalapeno poppers. We made tacos, a whole bunch of things. And by we, I mean I cooked most of it. She just watched. Yeah, she's very good at keeping the music going. It was so much fun. We had friends come over who then started helping us set up for the day. So we already knew it was going to be fun. We started getting ready, and one of my friends, Davina, who was at the Super Bowl party that night, as well as on the day, she had brought Chelsea this cute little like pink, it was like a bodysuit. And if anyone knows Chelsea, that girl loves, if it's cute, she's hours in the mirror for selfies. So I finished cooking as she took all the pictures she could. But she came out, she had her hair was curled up, she had her glasses on as usual, the pink bodysuit, black pants, and her Vans, and she was ready. And then she's like, are we leaving? And I'm like, really? Now I need to get dressed. So we get dressed, we head over there, we're having so much fun. We had friends from all over the place come over. We couldn't quite get the game on in the theater, so we had to all quickly move upstairs because if you watch Super Bowl and you're not really into sports like me, I wanted to see the commercials, personally. So we went upstairs. After a while, we ended up going back home after taking home all the leftovers. So we went back to my place. We had started our usual game night. It was a weekend, so games is what we did. Our cousin Ariana was there and her boyfriend Artavius. We started playing, and then one of our friends from that night who also lives in the complex, who lives right above Chelsea's apartment, she asked us if we wanted to come back over. So of course we did. Myself and Chelsea, we tried to get Ari to come with us, but you know, when you have a boyfriend, she was cupcaking, I don't know. She didn't want to come. So we're like, we love you, see you soon, and we left. So that was probably around 10 o'clock, I'll say. We go, we're having a good time at our friend's house. And then Chelsea had been staying with me for about a week. So we're like, oh, on the way home, this is about midnight at this time, on the way home, let's stop and get you clothes. So we walk downstairs, we go to the apartment, we see Tyler, he's like, what are you doing? We're having drinks, having a good time. We spend some time down there talking, kind of, you know, just, in my opinion, just normal conversations between a group of people, and then their normal conversation between co-parenters.
It was you, Chelsea.
Oh, excuse me. It's myself, Chelsea, my friend Davina. We're the ones who come downstairs and we meet up with Tyler in his unit, or not his unit, Chelsea's apartment.
And the baby was.
And the baby was already put to bed. Chelsea goes in there as usual, gives him a hug, kiss, messes with him, and then makes him go back to bed. And then we're just kind of talking. Probably a few minutes in, we decide to go out in the front because I guess Tyler, I didn't know that he smoked, but he wanted to smoke. So we went out to the front in the foyer, and we're just talking. Somewhere during that conversation, things got a little bit more heated between Chelsea and Tyler. At that point, you know, they're kind of going back and forth about what's the next steps. I guess I'll go back. A week prior to is when they officially broke up. Like, they were no longer together. She was staying at my place, and she gave him time to, you know, figure out what he wanted to do next. So during that night and that conversation, they began to talk about, okay, well, you know, you have to leave. What are you doing? He didn't want to leave. And so it just kind of, I guess you could say it escalated from that point, but not to this. Like, it was just a conversation about what are your plans and how are we going to co-parent. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know. So they're, you know, kind of going back and forth. Chelsea goes into the apartment and she asked me to come with her. So we're inside. Davina and Tyler are still outside. They're conversating. I'm in there talking to her as she's kind of packing up a bag. Then someone knocks on the door. It's obviously one of the two outside. So we go to the door. It's Davina, and she's asking to come inside the house. And Chelsea's like, we're about to leave. As soon as she says that, Tyler bursts through the door, and he walks straight to the back room. So he doesn't say anything to us. He doesn't make eye contact. He doesn't anything. He pushes us to the door, so it's with such force that the front door puts a hole in the wall right behind it. So he pushes us to the back door. Immediately, Chelsea follows him, and she's within like arm's reach of him. And then I'm right behind her within arm's reach, and Davina's right behind me. So we get into the back bedroom. He reaches into the dresser and then just starts shooting. There's no conversation beforehand. He doesn't say anything. So he pulls out the gun. I remember hitting the first shot and just being like, lay there. Just don't move. Just lay down. Don't move. And it just keeps going. It's like it's the sound of like, it doesn't sound real. It sounds like a broomstick falling. Like it's like boom, boom, boom. And then it keeps going. And as I'm laying there, my initial thought is just play dead. Like it'll stop. He'll stop. Chelsea's playing dead. She's pretty like street smart. She understands just, don't move. And so, a few moments go by. I'm laying there and I hear the baby crying. So my first thought is get up and get the baby. After that, it's like real spotty as far as, because I'm going in and out of consciousness at this point. And then I hear my cousin Ari come into the house, and I'm like, okay, Ari, get the baby. I go back, I pass out, and then I come back to, and I hear the baby crying again. So I'm like, get up. I get up, and at this point, I know, I say Chelsea, she doesn't say anything. I don't look, I don't even respond. I go over to the baby's room. I don't see him. I look over. I see Tyler laying there. He's kind of moving. He's doing like this weird breathing thing. And then I see the front door, and I'm like, just make it to the front door. And so when I get to the front door, I open it, and then there's some police officers, and I'm like, okay, everyone's safe. It's fine. And then, it's the last memory that I have from that night. After talking with Davina, who was there that night, her accounts of the story are the same. We walk in, she's the last one in. He starts shooting, and when he starts shooting, she runs out the front door, and she gets our cousin Ari. So when Ari comes, she sees August, and she grabs him, leaves the apartment, comes back and checks, and at this point she thinks we're both dead because neither of us are responding. But
we were able to see security footage. So there's a security camera right outside of Chelsea's apartment that faces the door. So you can't see into the apartment, but you can see the door frame. And then you can see these stairwells. So from what we could see on the video, they gave us around about the time. So we get to the time frame and we stop it. And the first thing you see is Chelsea bouncing down the stairs. And like, if you know Chelsea, that's how she walks. She bounced. So she's like bouncing down the stairs. And like, you could tell she's smiling. She's happy. She goes out of the gate, not the door to her apartment.
The building
She goes out the gate, and then she comes back in. The rest follow, and they go in. And it was hard watching this video because watching the lead up, you're expecting something big, right? You're expecting something to happen, but it's not. Like, they show Tyler, he's sitting there. At one point he's got a cigarette, at one point he's got a beer, he's got a cell phone, he's texting, I think he even makes a call at one point, but he is so calm in this video. Like, there was no big arm movements, there was no, like,
it was not.
He looked calm, he looked composed, he just looked like a regular person. Like, I honestly thought I was going to see this video and see this big, but it was none of that. It's just, and then all of a sudden, you see them go inside. The only reason you know anything happens is because on the video you see the girl Davina come sprinting out. And then, in our heads, that's when we know, like, okay, it happened. Because there's no lead up.
I'm telling you, it was our normal conversations. Like, I love to have a good time. I'm smiley, happy, jokes. I love to just make people laugh. And like, when I talk to Tyler, he's always respectful. He laughs at my jokes, even if they're not funny. Like, he was always nice. And then, like, even that night, our conversations never went to this. Like, he never once, like, I never got that feeling like, oh, we should go. Like, it never got there. It never even got to the point where I was like, oh man, he's gonna put his hands on someone. It never got there. He was like, we were all laughing and talking and joking, and then he wasn't.
In the video,
It was so fast.
in the video, there's a moment where the girl Davina, you can tell she's agitated. Like, she must have got into a little. So like you can. So at first I thought maybe you just can't see the emotion in this video. But like, no, I can tell Davina there's an emotion that comes over her at one point. And even Chelsea, when she first comes down and she says something to him, and it's with like her little sassy attitude.
Yeah,
it's
it's kind of
you
like,
can see
and
the
then,
attitude in it.
yeah.
But he was blank. No, I mean, like you could tell, like he's kind of smiling when he's drinking, like kind of happy. But there was never an anger moment that you can see in his face, in his movements, because there's like no tension. You know, you can see tension in somebody's shoulders. You can see tension in the way they're walking. And he was like so relaxed. He'd had basketball shorts on, just kind of. It was the most relaxed, laid back look that I've seen a person. Like, so from a person to go to that frame to, I now know within the last 3 minutes I saw this person, they have shot 2 people. It's crazy. And then going into the apartment afterwards, we went in and we got some of the stuff. The bullet holes in the walls. They go through. So their bedroom is here. The baby's bed's here. It shares a wall. Bullet holes through their bedroom
Into his room.
The thought was, so now I'm thinking, yes, I strongly believe he intentionally wanted to shoot and hurt her, and intentionally wanted to shoot and hurt Chelsea. But his mental frame, like I don't think he wanted to hurt his baby, but there were bullet holes within feet of his son. Like, the thought process wasn't there. And Sharice was shot 4 times.
6.
Chelsea was only shot twice. So it's like these questions that come up later, like why shoot her that many? And like,
At that time, I don't think his mind was
It was 5 shots.
working at all. He was
Or
just
6 to me.
shooting. The weird thing at the hospital, before we went to the apartment, when I was talking to the homicide detective that came down there, he saw I was a little upset. He said, well, Mr. Anderson, he said, I know as bad as it might seem, he said, tonight you could be planning 3 funerals. Then he told me about the bullet holes that was into the baby's room. And at that moment, it was kind of like a...
Surreal.
Right,
Yeah.
It could have been really, really bad.
yeah, we could
It
have.
was bad, but it could have been bad.
I believe that if August had come out of that room, he would have shot him, not realizing, like, I think he had, once he decided that this was it, like, he had no regard for whose life he took. He didn't think like, oh, you know, this is the mother of my child. Oh, this is his sister who has 2 children of her own. Like, he was so bent on, like, I can't have you. Nobody can, and I don't care who I harm in the process. It doesn't matter what the outcome is.
And the crazy, not necessarily crazy thing, one of the things that stuck out to me is they found throw up next to Chelsea
Oh, yeah.
That
in
was.
her hair.
And what the detective think is that after he did that, when he shot you and Chelsea, he kind of,
Came back.
right.
Saw what he did.
So that's another one of my, so as I'm laying there, there's only one time I opened my eyes and I saw the back of Chelsea, and then I saw his feet shuffle. Like, but it was after there was shots. So like I had stopped feeling being shot. Like, that was done. And I was like, open your eyes. Then I saw feet shuffle, and they were obviously men's feet. Like, it wasn't Ari's. It was his feet, and they were shuffling. So, but like, they were shuffling out of the room. So I think when he like was done, he came back and was like, oh my gosh, and then like a remorseful throw up almost. And then that's when he went to the living room and shot himself.
And that.
But even
bullet
that
even
is
went-
weird because I think he had to have missed or something because there's another random one like.
No,
No,
that
that
was
one-
his.
But there was
That was
two.
from the room.
through.
Right.
So some of, I think one.
No, there
One,
was.
no, it was one bullet that looked like it actually went from the room into the baby's room, but it was up kind of high. Now,
But I mean the one in the living room.
That was the
That
one
was-
that he shot himself
right,
with.
it came, he
in
was
and
a
out.
through.
It was through and through. So even that bullet went through the baby's room. Like
Right, also.
And so I think when we look back at this tragedy now and Tyler, there was mental illness. There was depression, anxiety, and I think in our society, especially for men, that's not something that's talked about. That's not something that's acceptable for a man to have. And I think if taken more seriously, maybe he's able to work through these things and we're not here without Chelsea. I think that mental illness leads you to do things, and it's not an excuse for what he did, but it's not something we can ignore as a society. As people, like, we have to face it and we have to find a way to fix it. It's okay to be broken. We're all broken, but we need to be able to talk.
It comes down to the fact is that in society, there's things, it starts when kids are little. We don't allow kids to actually learn things like how to cope, how to deal with things when they're little. And then we expect them when they're older to deal with it, and it doesn't work that way. So as parents, it's our responsibility to teach kids there's a responsibility for this. When you do something wrong, there's a consequence for it. And nowadays, kids don't get that. So when they get older, they don't, it doesn't, you got to teach kids how to cope with stuff.
Yeah. And we have to take it seriously. So somebody tells you, I am going to kill myself.
Well,
That
if
can't
you-
be.
With Tyler, he went to the first time when he was suicide. But remember, we found a thing that he went again on the 29th. So that's twice that he went to a clinic that they failed him.
Yeah. So it's clinics fail, and I think as society as a whole, we're failing. At the gym today, I was in the locker room, a song came on, and it's a song that I've heard before. It's Eminem and Rihanna, Just Gonna Stand There, Watch Me Burn. And I'm listening to this song. I'm like, how is this a song on the radio? Like, it is glorifying domestic violence to a degree that is shocking. Like, one of the lines, I wish I had my phone. One of the lines he says is, like, if you ever leave again, I'm gonna tie you to the bed. Like, like I'm like listening to this, and it's like the parallels between, like, listening to that on the radio. We are telling people it's okay for somebody to talk to you like this. It's okay for somebody to have that kind of control over you. It's okay for them to. It's just because they love you that much. They love you that much that they would do that. That's not love. That's not how you show love, and that is not okay. Like, I feel like we can't have songs where we have big names like Rihanna and Eminem talking about, you leave me, I'm going to kill you. You leave me, I'm going to do this. Like, that's not, I don't even know where that thought was going. It's just, I heard that song and I was like, I can't, this is what little kids are listening to. Because it's not like it's 30-something people. I mean, it's 30-something people too, but it's people developing their thought of what love is.
And what's okay, what's
a
not okay.
relationship? Oh, okay, so Rihanna and Eminem are telling me that's love. He just loves her so much. I mean, sometimes in relationships that happens, and that's not. And it's teaching men, on the other hand, and it's not just men, because I know women can be abusive just as much as men can. But it's teaching the abuser that that's an okay reaction to what you're feeling. It's okay to react on it, because that's just how you are, human nature. But it's not. Like, we are meant to control our urges. You can't just act on them. That song was, I was taken aback. Because I've heard the song before, but never actually listened to the words.
I think that's with a lot of
The
things.
weird part is if you look at in the Bible tells you what love is. And love is an action word. So if you love somebody, you do the action not to hurt them.
Yes.
Not to hurt them. And that's why I think we're missing the Bible. We're missing the word. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And until we go back and retrain our kids and actually pay attention to them and teach them and train them up, like it says in the Bible, things are going to happen. We can't sit up. The world is going to be what the world is. That's what it is. So we can't expect the world. We're supposed to be showing the world through the Bible and what it's supposed to be. But we're looking at the world and accepting the world, and that's not the way it's supposed to be.
If I could turn the clock back 6 months and sit down and talk with Chelsea, I would tell her, Chelsea, you don't have to put up with this. You don't have to allow yourself to be treated like this. You have options. You have family. You have people that love you. Love is not controlling. Love is not painful. Love will not hurt you. If you are in a situation and you are questioning, is this okay? Is this how it should be? You have to have people you can talk to. Talk to your family. Talk to a parent. Talk to a teacher. Talk to a pastor. Talk to somebody who you can trust. Don't just ignore the signs. Suicide is real. People don't just say they're going to do something like that without something wrong in their heart. Depression is real, and we need to face it, and we need to find a way to come back from it before it ends up being another homicide, another suicide. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Because of this, I'm one sister down. I will make no more memories with my sister. I will not get to see her grow up. I won't get to see her raise her son. Family dinners, vacations, all gone. Something that's avoidable. It doesn't just hurt her. She's not just dead. A part of me is gone. Her son has no mother. He has no father. He's got no immediate family. He's got no parents. The people she touched in her life have no friends. I think about the things she would have done in her life. Like, she would not have just faded into the background. She would have done amazing things. We will never know the people she would have touched, the things she would have done, the music she would have played, the dances she would have danced. We don't know. And it's all taken away from us by depression, by one person not being able to deal with the internal battle that we all face.
You know, I strongly believe that, you know, you just have to speak up. Even if you know of someone who's going through something and you feel like they're not going to like you anymore afterwards because you say something, it doesn't matter. Them not liking you over them living, it's worth it. It's you know, it's just like when you see someone being bullied. If you don't speak up, then, you know, we can't help that. We can't help either of them. It might get to the point where, you know, like these school shootings that we have, it's when you hear someone say something like, oh, I don't want to live, or, you know, I don't want to be here anymore, or I don't, you know, they don't like their situation and they're planning on changing it themselves. You have to say something. Don't think that it's going to fix itself on its own. I mean, that's not, you just have to speak up. The moment that you start to feel uncomfortable or you start to question yourself, like, you know, is this a good situation for my family, for my kids, if you have kids, or, you know, just if it's just you and your spouse and you don't feel comfortable, like, say something to anybody. Anybody, a random person on the street who you feel like can help you. I don't know. Anybody. Just don't sit there and hold it in and then, pray and hope that nothing happens to you. Because that's, anything can happen. It was like 3 minutes and my sister was gone. It was 3 minutes of just, all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Like, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have done that. I mean, it's gone now because nobody, helped. I don't even know how to say that. It's just, it was so fast that it could have been prevented. I know it could have. I don't know.
Right now, I had 6 girls, 6 pieces of my heart. And as the father, the last thing you think you're going to have to do is bury your child. But I had to do that. And that's a hurt that is hard to get over. I love all my girls, but I lost one. So now I have to deal with that on a daily basis. When I wake up, that's what I think about. When I go to bed, that's what I'm thinking about. But I know God has a plan, so I'm okay there. I do have a peace that God has given me, which I'm grateful for. But at the same time, it's important that kids understand that you're worth a lot. You're worth more than what you think you are. Don't let anybody tell you what your self-worth is. You need to understand that you are worth it. So it's best if someone is trying to down you or hit you or speak in an ill way towards you, tell someone. Don't take that. You don't have to take it. You're worth more than that. Your life is worth more than that. It is not just when someone commits suicide or murder, it's just not those 2 people, that one person, that it hits everybody. It hurts entire families. She has an 18-month-old baby right now that his entire life he's going to grow up without his parents. Now, he's going to get a lot of love. He's not going to want for anything, but there's going to come a time when he's going to want to know what happened to my mom, what happened to my dad. And in the time we live in now, Google, and he'll see everything. There's nowhere to keep it from him. So we're going to have to go through the heartache of explaining him. Then he's going to go through the heartache of, why did my dad do this? Why is that? And he's got to live with that. I don't want him to, but it's going to happen. I know it is. So don't put your family through that. Your family loves you. So always talk to your parents. Talk to your friends. If they tell you something that's not for your good, that's not your friend. Your friend is going to tell you, don't do this. Tell someone, let's go here, let's go there. They're going to not just let it go. They're going to actually help you. There's help out there. So don't just stop. If this one don't help you, go to someone else because there's help there. But if you don't say anything, if you don't go anywhere, it's not going to, if you need help, it's out there.
And I just don't look at this video and think, this is an isolated story. It's not going to happen anymore.
Oh, man.
That's just this family. A week after this happened, on the news, another 21-year-old woman in our town was killed by her boyfriend. This is not an isolated story.
It happens every day.
Every day.
Every
Do a
day.
Google search. It's not, it can happen to you. You need to actively make sure it does not happen to you.
It happened in the last 3 weeks. There's at least 3. When there was another man in Scottsdale that was having financial problems. He killed his wife, his 2 kids, then killed himself.
Oh yeah, Paradise Valley.
So
It
it's happening all
happens
the time.
every day.
When's
Don't let it
enough?
happen to you.
A young man out there, there's abuse that women abuse men also. And I know as men we're raised to know that we're, to feel embarrassed because a woman hits you. But there shouldn't be any hitting going from either side, from a man to a woman or a woman to a man. So if you're a man, you don't feel it's a blessing that you don't want to put your hands on her. But tell someone, don't take it. Go and tell somebody, hey, you know what? I'm having a problem here. It doesn't make you less of a man. It actually makes you a man because you're thinking ahead and you don't want to put your hands on her. So because she hit you, you don't have to hit her, but you can stop her. and then go get help for her and for yourself.
And that does go verbally too. Mental abuse of someone is almost just as bad as physically hurting someone. It's something that they're gonna pass along to their children, and it's just a cycle that's just gonna keep going. So, you know, at any point that you feel like someone's abusing you mentally or physically, just say something to anybody.
And we didn't even mention that if you have kids, what are you showing your kids? Kids are watching everything you do, good or bad, and they're learning from it. So only show good things, good examples. Love, so they will learn how to, when they get older, they'll know what love is, true love.
What was it?
I would say, don't expect there to be a progression. It doesn't necessarily happen verbal abuse to physical abuse to this. In Chelsea's situation, there was no physical abuse.
No.
It went from verbal abuse to murder. There are not always going to be logical, chronological steps that you have where you can process it and make a change. You have to make a change as soon as you notice an issue.
Yes.
Domestic violence does not just hurt you.
Domestic violence does not just hurt you.
Domestic violence does not just hurt you.